nga Albi Mall, Interex, Aztec, Alba Group, Capital X dhe Palma.
Një mik i mirë i Kosovës dhe sigurisht një mik i mirë edhe i misionit Rubikon, ambasadori amerikan Jeff Hovenier, ka filluar mandatin e tij në Kosovë në vitin 2022, në janar, dhe nga atëherë ka qenë shpesh edhe në këtë studio. Sot e kemi për atë që quhet interviste lamtumirëse, që është në përfundim të mandatit, dhe natyrisht do të flasim se cila ishte koha e tij në Kosovë, edhe për përvojat personale, por edhe për mesazhet kryesore, se cila ishte politika, çka bëjmë me aleancat tona dhe ku po e lë Kosovën. Mr. Ambassador, thank you for being in Rubicon.
Of course, it's a pleasure to be back here with you again.
And since this is the last interview, we're going to start, of course, with your experiences in Kosovo, your memories, the fond ones and not so fond ones.
Yeah, it's really hard to identify a specific memory, fond or unfond in some ways, but a couple things I would say. One, it has been absolutely the honor of my career and the highlight of my almost 34 and a half years as a member of the U.S. diplomatic service to have this opportunity to serve as the U.S. ambassador to the Republic of Kosovo. As you know, I've had the opportunity to work on Kosovo issues on and off in my career for many years, and so coming here now at the end of my career and to be the American ambassador and to experience this country at this moment in its history and to be a little part of that history has been truly an honor and a privilege. The one thing I'd say that I will take away, I have so many memories, I just can't give you one, but one thing that will absolutely stick with me forever and that I very much enjoy are the young people in Kosovo, the young men and the young women. I've really made it a point to go to as many universities and schools and gatherings of young people as I can, and I do it because they are just so impressive. They are smart, they are driven, they are humble, they are capable. They're all people who grew up in a post-conflict era, so nobody's privileged. They want to achieve the best for themselves and for their country, and boy, they can do it. I mean, I really have enjoyed my time with them, and I think the future is very, very bright with them coming of age.
And majority of them probably do speak English.
They all speak English, and they speak it well. No, I mean, this is a huge resource for Kosovo. It is such a promising future with this younger generation coming of age.
And can you tell us more about your favorite place in Kosovo, your maybe favorite dish in Kosovo? I want to challenge you to speak some Albanian.
Well, I mean, I never will turn down a good mantilla. That's also great. I've eaten more flia than I probably should, but never have regretted a bite of it. Those are some of my favorite foods. Places is really hard because no matter what I say, other people will be offended I don't talk about their place. But there's so much to see and do. My wife and I like to hike. She likes it more than I do, but we both do. We spent time in the Rugova Valley. I love going to historical sites. As you may remember, I'm an archaeology fan, and there's all kinds of classical and Byzantine archaeological sites. I'm very proud to have the United States Embassy supporting excavation work at the Dresnik site, for example, and there's such interesting things happening at Ulpiana. I love going to Prizren and just seeing the city, climbing up to the fortress and looking down and just seeing the city. I love being in Peja. Most places are both interesting and fun.
Coke Zero, does it taste better in Kosovo than in the US? You drink Coke Zero?
I am fond of Coke Zero. I don't know if it tastes better here, but it tastes pretty good here.
This is not an advertising, but it's your favorite drink. You had a lot of, and let's not forget Albanian words.
You know, that's a hard one because there's lots of words. The word I hear the most is mir. You hear it over and over and over again.
It's mir to hear mir.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I don't know if the situation was to hear mir all the time.
But it reflects attitude, right? How are you doing? Good. Are you good? I'm good. I mean, just this mir. It reflects a positive attitude. It reflects kind of wanting to know how someone's doing and hoping that it's positive. And I like that spirit. So.
Nice. So you had a lot of farewell meetings lately. Of course, you met president, governmental leaders, opposition leaders. So relations between like Kosovo government, in particular with the U.S. administration during your time here, have not been so stable all the time, if I can use that word. So how are the relations now?
You know, here's what I would say. I find that this question comes up a lot. I feel like a lot of Kosovans want to have the equivalent of going to the psychologist and lying down on a couch and having a psychoanalytical session. What I would say is two things. One, the commitment of the government of Kosovo, the commitment of the people of the United States to the people of Kosovo is firm and unyielding, and the people of the United States and the U.S. government supports Kosovo. We have, we are, we will. It is absolutely true that we've had some differences, some serious differences at times with this government. And I think that has had some effect. But this isn't an issue of the United States and Kosovo. This is an issue of, I would say, Kosovo's friends. Just as recently as this week, the European Union had a General Affairs Council that had conclusions that also talked about their hopes for Kosovo and the hopes and the things they want to see. The United States believes the people of Kosovo really, truly want to be integrated into Europe, to join the European Union, to join NATO, to take their place in the family of European nations, although you're already doing that in many ways. We support that 100%, and we have been with you in trying to achieve that. The more close cooperation we have, the easier it is for us to be the most effective advocates we can be for Kosovo. When the cooperation suffers, it's harder for us to be as effective as we would like in helping Kosovo advance this vision.
Mm-hmm. But there were times, probably it was like weeks ago, when you stated if you want to join a club, don't be at the club's house door. So this was not something that people of Kosovo would like to see a partner as U.S. ambassadors say. So what made you say particularly something like that?
Well, in that particular speech, I was quoting my grandfather, who enjoyed folksy sayings. Mm-hmm. And my point was really straightforward. If you want to be part of a community like the European Union, like NATO, you want to be attractive to them. You want to do everything possible to be responsive to their concerns. And that brings me back to the European Council conclusions, which that were very powerful, that were just released this week, that talk about the things Europe would hope to see Kosovo do to see Kosovo advance. The United States feels the same way. We absolutely want to see Kosovo advance. And we hope that the government will continue to work with us and perhaps work even more cooperatively with us to see that happen.
If the government would cooperate more, what would be different during this time?
I think you could have a clear trajectory to European Union membership. It's a hard, long path. I think we'd be in a better place to make a stronger case for Kosovo moving closer in its relationship with NATO. Those are the two things I'd put on the table. I think Kosovo would already be a member of the Council of Europe.
Mm-hmm. So we lost many chances.
I'll let you draw your conclusions. But I'd rather not spend much time thinking about what's happened in the past. Kosovo has enormous possibility. So all those things are still out there. Council of Europe membership is achievable. The European Union responding to your accession request is achievable. Moving to a different, more established relationship with NATO is achievable. I have to say, all of those paths, which are very much achievable, do go through the EU-facilitated dialogue. This is a reality, because the impediments to those paths are the very states that haven't yet recognized Kosovo the way we have, as a sovereign, independent, democratic state. We've got to overcome their objections, their concerns, their resistance. They have talked about wanting to see progress in the EU-facilitated dialogue and a repositioned, a more positive Kosovo-Serbia relationship as a condition for them to be supportive of that. On the Council of Europe, it's even simpler. I mean, the United States doesn't vote, but our European partners who do vote and make these decisions have made clear that if Kosovo moves this draft statute from the European Union on the Association of Serb Majority Municipalities to the Constitutional Court for review, that's the step, then they will support membership. So I think there has to be some progress in these areas to see progress on this longer-term strategic perspective that I believe the people of Kosovo want and that we very much want to see happen for Kosovo.
And in the U.S., you have a new president. So Donald Trump will step into the White House on January 20th. So many people are asking, will the U.S. policy towards Kosovo and the region change? Of course, Donald Trump has been in the office 4 years ago as well, in his first mandate. How do you see it?
I would say something I've already said once. I would not worry about the commitment of the people of the United States to Kosovo. And this question of Kosovo as a sovereign, independent, democratic, multi-ethnic state. This is a given. And I think you won't see a change in the generosity of the people of the United States in support of our Kosovan friends and partners. So the Iowa National Guard partnership with the Kosovo Security Force, the educational exchanges, the things we do with young people, all of that is an important part of our bilateral relationship, and I don't see any of that changing. Whenever a new administration comes to power, they review policy, because circumstances change and they get elected to implement some changes in policy. Kosovo-Serbia issues were not high on the agenda in the campaign, and neither candidate staked out a very fundamental position of change on these issues. But inevitably, there will be some policy review and likely some adjustments to policy. Had Kamala Harris been elected, there would have likely been a policy review and some adjustments to policy. I don't know precisely what those will be, and I will not be part of whatever comes to implement those. I can just talk about what we've done. But I wouldn't spend too much time worrying about our fundamental commitment to Kosovo. That's solid.
And many people, when they think Trump administration, they continue saying back in the time there was this idea of land swap to achieve an agreement with Serbia. So can we think that something like that can be again on the table?
I don't know what will or won't be on the table. I can lay out this administration's policy, which is we don't believe that is an appropriate way forward. And we also don't think it's pretty clear that the populations of the two states are not in favor of such a solution as well. So I don't see it working. But I'm not in a position to speak for what the policy priorities of the next administration will be.
I'm going to speak about something that you said again. You stated recently there are malicious foreign actors active who try to undermine Kosovo's democracy by exploiting ethnic divisions. Who are these actors?
So it depends. There are a variety of actors in Europe and around the world that seek to use a free and independent media and the information space we have to promote false narratives or specially designed narratives to sow division rather than democratic success. We've seen that happen in the United States. We've seen that happen in other European countries, and it's clear it's happening in the Western Balkans as well. I can't tell you exactly who because it depends on the message in the campaign, but these malicious actors are there. And that leads to 2 points that are really important. The first point is that freedom of the media and an independent media is an essential, critical part of a functioning democracy. You want a media that is free and fair and independent and objective, going out and getting information and providing it to the public. This is so important. In our own history, this was a debate at the time of the founding of our country, and one of our founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, talked about a free and independent media being as important as the 3 branches of government, executive, legislative, and judicial. He referred to a 4th estate. This is in our DNA. But I think we feel that way for all democracies. So anything that would curtail media freedom is a threat. It's a threat to the very, very strength of a democracy. And that's certainly something we've talked about here, or I've talked about here in my work in Kosovo. But the other point of this is consumers of media, consumers of information, also have a responsibility just as the media institutions do. Media institutions need to provide objective, factual reporting. Consumers need to make sure they're consuming objective, factual reporting. We have a human tendency at times to want to get information that reinforces our assumptions or presumptions. And so we spend a lot of time here, the U.S. Embassy and our European partners working, we do this in other countries too, but working on media literacy, learning how to identify those very types of stories that are designed to manipulate or divide rather than inform. So we hope that consumers of media, of information in Kosovo are savvy, that they know where to go for objective, factual reporting, and that they use those sources.
Can we talk a little bit about the attack that happened 3 weeks ago in Iberlep Canal?
Yeah.
So you said it's still early to point a finger who has done it. So do we have any indication so far who might have done it or what to make of it?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked me about this because it gives me a chance to reinforce a couple of, I think, very important points. The first point, which is a point I've made several times, but I appreciate having a chance to do so again, is how much we condemn this attack. This wasn't just a coincidental thing. This was a planned attack designed to disrupt critical infrastructure in Kosovo in a completely unacceptable way. It was designed to directly affect one of the main sources of energy in this country, designed to affect the water supply for a big percentage of the population, and it deserves to be condemned, and obviously steps need to be taken to ensure something like this not happen again, and the people responsible for this horrendous attack need to be held accountable. And that brings me to my second point. Important, hard, difficult investigative work is ongoing to determine who is responsible. The United States is supporting that work actively. We have offered and brought FBI support here in Kosovo now to work with Kosovan law enforcement directly, full-time, to help identify those who are responsible and to ensure that this investigation is credible, thorough, and leads to the right conclusions. It's never a good idea if ambassadors talk about law enforcement investigations, and the investigation is very much ongoing. So all I can say about clues or hints or where this is headed is the U.S. government is not in a position yet to say that we've drawn conclusions or know who is responsible for this attack. We are very committed to providing as much support as we can to the authorities of Kosovo to come to that conclusion in a credible, transparent, thorough way that meets best practices for law enforcement. And so far, this investigation is being done in that way. When we are able to draw conclusions, we will work very much with the authorities of Kosovo to hold the criminals responsible for this attack accountable.
We saw the Kosovo government pointed the finger to Serbia. They said probably Serbia is standing behind. There were seizing of some materials, there were uniforms, emblemas found. So, but concerning the U.S., you cannot talk specifically about.
We're aware of the evidence that's been collected. As I said, the U.S. view, and again, this is not for me, this is for our law enforcement professionals, including the FBI special agents working on this case full-time with Kosovan partners. We are not able to say who we believe to be responsible at this time.
And since we are coming to the end of this interview, what would the main messages to Kosovo people be? And we are also moving towards national elections.
Yep.
We're going to have new elections in February 9.
You know, I think my main message to the people of Kosovo is a fairly simple one. If you work on Kosovo, or if you live in Kosovo, if you're part of this country and its issue set, it's easy on a short-term basis to feel anxiety and concern. There's always a problem in front of you that needs to be addressed and overcome in some way, shape, or form. And I see people at times depressed or discouraged or concerned. I understand that. But if you think about where this country was in 1996 or 1999 or 2004 or 2008 or 2011, I could keep going, and you think about the trajectory, don't fall into the trap of the short-term view or thinking. The problems are real, but we have together consistently overcome them. And if you take a strategic view, if you look at the country over a 5-year or 10-year period, what's being achieved is phenomenal. I remember coming here in 1998, 1999, and it feels very different than being here in 2024, right? So my message to the people of Kosovo is pretty straightforward. Kosovo has an enormously positive and bright future. The United States is your partner. You've achieved it on your own, but we've been very proud to be supportive of you as you've achieved it. There's only one way this country's going, long term, and that is a very positive place. And as I said, your young people are going to make sure of that. That's my message. It's very much an optimistic and positive message because I am optimistic and positive about Kosovo.
Mr. Ambassador, it was also a pleasure having you as U.S. Ambassador to Kosovo, and I'm also very happy to have you on Rubikon for so many times and to have you as a friend. So thank you also for this interview and wish you all the best luck.
Thank you. They fall in there, show.
Rubikon me Adriatic Kilmendin përkrahet nga Albi Mall, Interex, Aztec, Alba Group, Capital X dhe Palma.